Hello, everyone, and welcome to Verdict of the Ancient Kings, episode number 3. We call Herofall as our first witness. Now, over the past week, there's been a lot of news and a lot of shakeup and changes in the Hex world, just with the announcement of Herofall releasing in a mere, is it, I would say, a little bit more than 24 hours from now. We don't quite know if it's going to be midnight of September 7th, but we do know it is just around the corner. And right now, I think everyone is just waiting, holding on to their plat, and waiting for when Herofall finally drops and we have new gems to play with, new cards to play with, and just a whole new meta to try and unravel in the next, 72 hours before Cosmic Showdown. Now, before we jump straight into the rest of our show, would you want to go over the puzzle that we went and talked about last week, Nico?
Sure, yeah. So thanks everyone that participated. We had about 22 entries, and basically the solution to the puzzle was 18 damage. You activate your charge power, you play an arena regular, you play the Soul of Battle onto the arena regular, you then play your Crackling Vortex, which will then deal 8 damage, 2 packets of 4. And then you play your Ruby Infusion device that will deal another 4 damage. And you activate its power onto the arena regular, which will make it a 3/2, and then attack and he'll deal 6. So that's 18 total damage. So congratulations to our three out of the 15 that got it right. You have won a pack, and I've already sent those packs off to you. I'm not sure, does it say who those 3 people are? Yeah, they're for Hawat, Parallax, and Kurama Kuibi. And I probably butchered all of your names, but thanks for submitting entries, and we will showcase another puzzle later today.
All right. Now, first thing I also wanted to jump into as well was the announcement of the Cosmic Showdown. Now, with the announcement that Herofall was going to be hitting the floors and hitting the public servers on September 7th, the first question everyone really started to ask was, wait, is Herofall legal? What's going to happen? What's going to happen to the entire auction house market? Are people going to be spending way too much money trying to get their playset of those very, very limited cards? And what's going to happen with Herofall and Cosmic Showdown? And, well, the answer was, I believe, an answer that really came out of left field for a lot of people. And people still have some gripes about it, and some people really, really like it. What's your take, Nico, as someone who is actually participating in the Cosmic Crown Showdown and coming up this weekend?
I'm pretty excited about it myself because I get to brew a deck that no one else has seen. So hopefully I can sneak in a few wins with something different. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to share it because I do want to stream too, but I don't want to lose my competitive edge. But I think it's pretty cool, and it's a slick solution that they came up with to grant the temporary sets to all the people that made it into the Cosmic Crown Showdown. So yeah, I like it. I'm excited about it, and I'm glad that we kind of get to be the first group of players to showcase the constructed meta for Set 5.
Yeah, with Set 5 just being released and the meta is just going to be all up in arms, being part of a guild, being part of a playtest group is really going to separate the players, like the top tier players, I believe, from the players who got in around 60th place and kind of squeaked by. If you don't have someone to really test your deck against, especially someone who has access to all of the other Herofall cards, you're going to have a very, very difficult time just trying to figure out what the meta is and what you're going up against. And we have some predictions on what the meta is going to be. We know that Wild is looking very, very strong, but we also know that the gems, the gems being now all single threshold, a new set of gems, how is that going to play into it? Also, a whole new array of socketed cards coming out in Herofall, and who's really going to be able to really min-max their deck and their playtest while predicting the meta comfortably. That's going to be a real test of just everyone's deck building prowess over what is going to be a very, very frantic, I believe, 72 to 96 hours as things do wind up to this upcoming weekend. Now, we do have still a little bit of time coming in before the eventual release of Herofall on the 7th, and some people have taken this time to really try and climb the ladder before Hero Fall comes out, just because you know what. Your deck's a little bit more tried and true. You know what you're looking at. You know the meta very well, and if you guys didn't know, there is currently kind of double rewards on the ladder, as you are going to be rewarded with our, Primal Dawn packs, and then eventually Hero Fall packs come September 7th. And this has been a deck that you're currently running, Nico. Is that correct?
Yeah, so this is one deck I'm using to climb the constructed ladder. It's very similar to what I used to climb during Season 1. And I just want to showcase it because I thought it was pretty cool and interesting and different. And I don't really ever see anyone running the same exact deck. I'm utilizing Uzu just basically for early game to hit that 5th diamond threshold on turn 4. And usually what that allows me to do is I can sneak in a Noble Heart onto one of my 2 or 3 drops and usually prevent some sort of kill effect or lethal damage effect on that card. And that's usually enough for me to push through the mid game and take down opponents that are playing other decks. It has a really good main deck matchup against Yodel, and it has a really good sideboard matchup against McBombus, which are 2 of the more mainstay decks in the ladder right now.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Howling Ambush. Very, very strong cards. Also, anytime you can get a turn 4 William Rowan that's invincible, seems to be a very, very good thing, because William can then just freely swing in. And also, I gotta ask, is the Eternal Sage, does it come in handy with Uzu, being able to get whatever particular threshold you're looking for?
Yeah, I often am using it for the charge power on Eternal Sage only. I kind of wish I had more variation in my shard pool, like maybe even playing a few shard calls, because the Eternal Sage actually being able to lock down a troop with like a Sapphire Shard or buff with a Wild Shard or Wild Threshold is really valuable in that late game when you're just trying to sneak in the last little bit of damage. So yeah, I'm definitely using my charge power a lot for Eternal Sage. It's not just for the diamond health, which is by that time in the game you probably don't need the health anyway.
Yeah, I'm also looking at your Deathless Guardian, and a lot of Yotul players who just, I guess, net builders or someone who Googles up what Yotul does and like, oh, and not reading what Deathless Guardian does, quickly realizing that they miscalculated their damage. And all it takes is one play mistake in a best of 3 to really swing things in your favor. Have you seen that happen a lot with the Deathless Guardian?
Yeah, the Deathless Guardian is probably the most powerful card in the Yodel matchup. In fact, I'll oftentimes wait until turn 3 or turn 4 when I can play one back with the Stone Skin or a Noble Heart, because one of those Deathless Guardians sticking in play will almost guarantee a win against a Yodel player. It's like it's their kryptonite.
Yeah, I got it. You look at it, it's a 2/2 Swift Strike, so Whirling Brutalizer is already like, I don't want to quite swing in there. And then when they read the game text, when they try to burn it, and then it goes to a 2/2 to a 2/1, they look at it and they go, oh. And their heart kind of drops, and they wasted a card. Part of you is like humble bragging, like, haha. But at the same time, you're like, okay, I think I got this now. So I really like the deck. For Williams, you got the Solitary Exiles for, the kind of catch-alls, and it looks really, really strong. With the number of, actually, you don't have quite enough diamond troops to play the other unicorn to make it another just 5-drop invincible, huh? I just want to see that card.
Actually, yeah, that's not a bad idea, but because the meta is so removal heavy, it's just that plan could easily backfire.
That's true. Yeah, like part of me just wants to see that unicorn in play. It's such a happy unicorn. It just never, unicorns are just really, really rare, I guess, and no one is able to play that particular unicorn.
Yeah, the Hope Heart's the only one that graces my deck.
Yeah. All right, so, moving right along, with Hero Fall coming up just around the corner, we wanted to talk about some of the strategies and some of the cards that may all of a sudden become a little bit more powerful or become a little bit more interesting with Hero Fall coming in. And there are a number of aspects that we're looking at with Hero Fall. Dreadling being one of the mechanics, the new gems, and finally Assault. What we're looking at right now are Dreadling cards and cards that you may already be familiar with. They're part of Armies of Myth, Shattered Destiny, even Shards of Fate. Some of those original cards, and some of them here, Runir Efferfont. It was quite popular for a long while because of that Spell Shield gem. But now we're going to see these cards in play for a completely different reason.
Yeah, and the Runir, I mean, that card's always going to be great, but especially with Dreadling mechanic, the fact that it'll just get multiple +1/+1 triggers every time a Dreadling pops into play is going to push it a lot further into a more aggressive card than a more defensive kind of deal with me or you lose card, because Runir can now be socketed with speed from Blood and +1 attack and crush from Wild. So if you can combo that with a bunch of Dreadlings, you're probably going to be able to push in quite a bit of damage really early in the game.
Yeah, those Dreadlings are very, very easy to hit the board. We've seen a number of cards that, or some gems that allow you to play Dreadlings, get 2 Dreadlings, get 3 Dreadlings, get 1 Dreadling a turn, get 1 Dreadling for every attack on this particular troop that has to attack. So you can generate these troops, and now that you kind of have extra bodies, you can do whatever you really, really want with them. Now, going down the list, one of the cards in particular is Hope Hero Samurai, which was a card that I don't believe ever saw tier 1 play. It wasn't a card that anyone was looking at going, wow, this is a really, really strong card. Let me go ahead and play with it. But now that Dreadlings are going to be in play, just reading the game text, it's the second line of the game text is really perhaps what's most important. It says, when a troop you control is sacrificed, add a Bushido counter to Hope Hero Samurai. Then if there are 3 or more, remove them and transform him into Hope Hero Elite Samurai. What's important about this is that it can be any type of sacrifice. It doesn't have to be the sacrifice on gameplay from Hope Hero in particular. So if you have a hideous conversion on the table and you sacrifice it to gain 1/0, an additional resource that particular turn, Hope Hero still gets that Bushido counter, and his upgraded version does get significantly stronger, as you can see here. He then becomes a 2/2, and you can sacrifice a troop on the Dreadling to potentially ping a lower cost or a low defense troop. And then when he has 3 more, well, he then just goes absolutely bonkers, right, Nico?
Yeah, I mean, the most elite form of the Hakuro is a 3/3, and then you just pay 1 to sacrifice something, and you can kill target opposing card. So the other thing to note is, because Dreadlings are sacrificed at the end of each turn, you don't even need a secondary card to help you with the sacrificing. They're just automatically going to trigger sacrifice and throw counters onto Hop Hero. So it seems like the perfect card in a deck like this, especially if you can get that it's called living factory or living dread or something, where you actually put it onto the troop and that troop generates Dreadlings at the beginning of each turn. That could be something really cool to put on him, because he can be his own army.
Yeah. Yeah, and transitioning, well, and for those of you guys who are actually watching the stream and watching the video, there is a lot that you can do here. Xenoth's Malice, if you didn't realize it, the Dreadling does count as a robot Shroomkin spider, so anything on the underworld side that triggers off of Shroomkins, triggers off of robots, and this is definitely something that Dreadlings will be helpful for. Xenoth's Malice, you can draw cards, but going along to your, a one-man army, we actually have a good use of the one-man army coming up in terms of the gems. Now, Mad Robomancer is a 5-cost single sapphire threshold major minor gem that is a 3/3. Its most important game text here is, when you play an action, create a replica of this and put it into your hand. One of the key things that we actually had tested was, does the replica contain the Underworld faction icon. And it still retains the Underworld faction icon even though it is a robot. So anything that triggers off of Underworld still works for your replicas. And we have perhaps one of the best gems for the Underworld to do that here, the Major Blood Orb of the Underworld. When this attacks, Underworld troops you control get +1/+1 and lethal this turn. What do you think about this combination?
It's a nice combination. I mean, Mad Robomancer is a pretty awesome card if you can make him work, just because he is a 5 cost. It's going to be interesting to see if people evaluate him highly. But he also has access to the major Sapphire gem too that creates a Sapphire, a random, I think it's a random Sapphire action that you meet the thresholds for, and combined with the minor Ruby of Valor, and so then just getting one action per turn, you could be getting two. I don't know if that's actually better than the Major Blood Orb, obviously, but it's another option to go with Mad Robomancer if you decide to play with him in your deck.
Yeah, one of the things is with the playing and testing with Mad Robomancer, one of the most difficult things is the cost of the action you're going to get. The Sapphire gem says that I believe it's an action that you meet the threshold to play with costs less than this particular card. So sometimes you may not want the 5 cost, periphery as strong as it may be, because you want to, go wide and perhaps get more Mad Robomancers. The minor Ruby of Valor is a thresholdless 1 cost action. So on your next turn, you can play a Mad Robomancer, play a Ruby, or play your Valorous, and then just start trying to double up as much as you can, trying to go as wide as quickly as you can.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think Mad Robomancer is going to become more popular with the new gem sets, just because there's some other very high-powered socketed troops that are going to lose a little bit of favor now with the gem changes.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what? We're only looking at the current gems for some of the older cards. We haven't even really unpacked, all of the new Nozun things, all the new artifacts that have gems as well. And we're going to be looking at more of those once we have a full week and what we see some of the other top tier players play in the Cosmic Showdown when we get all of those cards into the best players' hands. Now, moving right along, we also have the use of assaults. Now, for those of you guys who do not remember what assault is or what assault does, assault is a keyword that triggers basically every time you attack, something happens. Fury of the Mountain God actually is, I guess, a primitive version of assault. Not quite, but it says when a troop you control deals damage, if this is in your hand, this gets cost -1. So if a troop is unblocked, it kind of goes through. But these are all cards here that are incredibly powerful with assault. Minion of Yazukan, Disciple of Yazukan, basically free bodies that you can throw at or throw with just so you can lower that assault cost, and they're gonna come back and with speed, since Minion of Yazukan is a tunneling troop, and it's going to get stronger. Disciple of Yazukan, it does have flight, so there is some evasion in there as well. Gore Feast, being able to attack twice in a single turn, and also giving rage to your troops as well, pushing through a little bit more damage. These are all cards that could possibly shake up how players use assault.
Yeah, and I think Assault will see some play in Diamond as well. Maybe with some of the pet-based troops, like maybe a Royal Den Mother compared with like a Royal Falconer and stuff like that as well, where you're generating more troops for each troop you play. But these are like really nice little cheap troops that are quick, except for the Fury of the Mountain God. But Fury of the Mountain God also has a major minor, so it can have speed. And then one of the major blood orbs, probably not the Underworld related one because it's an Ardent troop, but I can't recall what the other major blood orb is at this time, but I think it's also pretty good. And
I believe it's a sacrifice where when it comes into play, you can sacrifice another troop, and if you do, this gets +3/+3. So you could essentially have a 3 cost 7/7 speed on the table, or a 7/7 that is unblockable unless you have 7 attack. I believe that's another minor blood gem. So Fear of the Mountain God is an absolute beast as well. If you can get that early damage going through, and I know it doesn't have assault per se to affect its cost, but it's close enough for, well, like I want to say, close enough for government work to get the job done.
Good saying. I like it.
All right. Now, also for those of you guys who did not get to see Hero Fall and what some of the changes were, there were a number of changes to cards to try and balance out some of those cards in Hero Fall. Certain cards were buffed, some certain cards had their costs reduced, and there were some problem cards that we mentioned in the past week. One of those problem cards was the Dreamweaver Ancient, and immediately Dreamweaver Ancient went from cost 4 to 5. And a lot of people are like, okay, yeah, Dreamweaver Ancient did get a nerf, but as people quickly realize, Dreamweaver Ancient at cost 5 has a bit of an upside. Isn't that right, Nico?
Yeah, I mean, as you're showing here, the upside is that it actually interacts now with all the other 5 drops that a lot of elf um, troops have thematically interacting with. So if you have something like a Periwinkle or something else that benefits on a 5+ card being played, now Dreamweaver Ancient will also trigger off of that. So, and it's not unique. So if you have 2 of these coming into play on turn 3 or 4, off of a Periwinkle trigger, it's going to be even more difficult to deal with than it was before. But luckily now there's that other condition where you'll need a Periwinkle on top of a Cressida charge to have this dream turn 3, whereas it could have been played on turn 3 regardless of a Howling Brave and a Periwinkle and dealt a lot of damage prior. So it is still a good card. It's just that cost change should hinder it a little bit in terms of how frequently it's able to go off incredibly early.
Yeah, I'm looking at this combination, and I look at the Dreamweaver Ancient, and I just replace it with Titania's Majesty in my mind back in the day, and people would say, you have to get all those cards in your hand. I remember the Titania's Majesty off of Periwinkle combination happening fairly regularly to have turn 3 wins. Now, I'm not saying that Dreamweaver Ancient is going to give you a turn 3 win, but it will be very, very difficult to come back from, especially if you're entering your third turn dealing with 2 5 drops and potentially 2 additional 4 drops that were just generated in addition to the Howling Brave and the Periwinkle as well.
Yeah, and the other thing that is frustrating with the Periwinkle combo in general is, and I've experienced this in prior constructed play, is if someone holds Periwinkle back until they have 8 resources, they can drop a Periwinkle on 8 resources and then immediately drop a Dreamweaver Ancient before you can respond to the Periwinkle.
Yeah.
So they'll immediately get that double Dreamweaver without you having a chance to respond at all.
Yeah, it's one of the priority systems where you can respond to the Periwinkle when it's on the chain, but once the Periwinkle is in play, you can't respond to it until some other action, until priority has passed, and the Dreamweaver Ancient can be immediately played after that for all of you guys who haven't been on the beat end of that particular stick.
Yeah, it's frustrating, and I mean, there's some mechanics in the game that are always going to be that way, and that's just one of them. So it depends on the type of removal you have and how your opponent's playing against you. But sometimes you can use that as a tactic against them, or you can totally be punished by it. So.
Yeah. So, do you think that we will be looking at this combination, or do you think it will place in the top 8 of Cosmic Showdown, or is there something hidden in the weeds that people have yet to discover?
Oh, I mean, I have only started to crack the surface of what I think will be good, and this is definitely like the deck to test against.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be some sort of wild Ruby hodgepodge deck that's going to kind of be the the tier 1 gauntlet deck to test against. And the other deck that I think will do very well is like a mono blood control style deck with that new Horrors of War card. Once someone figures out how to make that work, and then maybe some sort of combo Dreadling engine deck, because I think the Dreadling mechanic is quite good for constructed play. And we'll see whether or not I'm right about that. But yeah, I think the Wild Ruby deck is going to be a competitor, and it probably will have at least one deck crack top 8. I would say 2 or 3.
Yeah. I'm really, really interested to see how the Dreadlings and how the new mechanics in Hero Fall do. A lot of the times it always feels like the new mechanic system is primarily used in limited, where you're like, oh, these are really, really strong in limited. But in constructed, since you have such a larger card pool, and you have so much, better resources, you try to blend all of these decks together and all of these, all of these cards together for the quote unquote better deck, and you don't get to see, like, for instance, spiders that much in constructed play, or you don't get to see that much tunneling, like a pure tunneling you don't get to see, or a lot of robot artifacts. It really feels like the synergy in Hero Fall will actually start to translate into constructed play a little bit more with the Dreadlings, with the gems, with the assault, and you're just not going to see all of the power drop cards that we saw maybe during the first and second set.
Yeah, that's for sure. And the gem changes will swap things up a little bit as well. Like, I think some people may stray from Ruby Wild as a pairing because Ruby no longer has that quick access to speed through their sockets. So we might see more Wild Blood pairings that kind of try to go for the same kind of concept, where they have some very high-powered socketed card that has speed attached to it, maybe in the form of Ruineer or something else.
Yeah.
But we may see that pairing see a lot more play than it was in the past.
Yep, definitely. And well, finally, moving on to our new puzzle for the week. The challenge is to win the game on the current turn. For those of you guys who were not able to participate or found out too late about the puzzle last week, go ahead and take a look at this one. I think this is like the third or fourth iteration of this puzzle. I posted this up to some friends, and they poked holes in it until I found what I thought to be the best possible puzzle that I could put out there. So I'll go ahead and read it for you. Or Nico, would you like to do it?
Yeah, sure. I'll read it. So your objective is to win the game. Your hero is Rutherford Banks. Your threshold is double diamond, single blood, single ruby, and you have 7 charges. So
that's probably a big hint on what you need to do.
Yeah, I'm not going to say anything else. And you're at 4 life. Your resources are 4 out of 4. There's no cards in your hand. There's no cards in your crypt. Your opponent's at 20 life. No troops in play, no resources, but you only draw 1 card. What is that card? So if you can figure out what that card is, send me the entry. Hero Fall is not legal, so this is just as if Wednesday is not coming. And you can see what you have in play there. You have 2 Ghostblade Duelists and a Hideous Conversion. Yeah. So if you can figure that out, go ahead and send the entries to me. I haven't actually determined the prize. It's probably going to be 3 more winners for a single pack of Primal Dawn, but I might mix it up, and we might do something more on theme with this actual puzzle. So maybe it's like a Hideous Conversion and 2 Duelists. You'll never know until you win, so good luck.
All right, and just for all of you guys who are listening on the podcast, assume all the cards in your deck are reverted. I don't want someone to say like, oh, I played another card prior and I have a Walking Calamity that's free, and therefore I'm going to play a Walking Calamity that's free and then sacrifice it with the Hideous Conversion and deal 20 damage that way. No, that is not the answer, but that is a good guess, but not the answer in this particular case.
Are you convinced there's only one answer to this?
I believe there is only one answer to this. I put it out there, and a lot of people like tried to come up with different scenarios and different answers. And so far, I believe there is only one answer to this. If you do find another answer, I'll throw in a pack of Hero Fall as well. Just just so I am surprised, and just so that I know that we need to do our homework a little bit more.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. So, well, for all of us here from Cornerstone Guild and me and Nico, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah, have a good one, guys. Take care.